Thank you, Mr. Chair, Ranking Member, colleagues. We, of course, face so many critical issues around the world today, but today I'd like to focus with you on the enduring significance of the Indo-Pacific, and particularly the Pacific Islands region of the Indo-Pacific, a region where if we don't get it right, there will be very severe consequences down the road, even more severe than what we face today. This region is not only, of course, the roots of much of our country, including my own Hawaii, but we have been a Pacific power now for over 2 centuries. People tend to forget that. Countless service members, of course, lost their lives in World War II defending freedom and security, and the post-war order, which has been beneficial to the Indo-Pacific. And our country itself administered in the post-war period the Trust Territory of the Pacific Islands, which included the 3 freely associated states of Palau, the Federated States of Micronesia, and the Marshall Islands. But unfortunately, our engagement waned over time and suffered from decades of insufficient attention, a situation that the pacing challenge of China, Pacific power, Russia, and others have been only too willing to exploit. In 2019, I co-founded the Bipartisan Pacific Islands Caucus with many members of this committee and others to lend specific focus in Congress to the Pacific Islands. We have worked to include the Pacific Islands in our overall approach to the Indo-Pacific across all efforts, and we have produced legislation such as our Blue Pacific Act to integrate the region in our overall strategy for Indo-Pacific engagement. Through these and other efforts, we have made promising strides towards bolstering our presence in the region and reestablishing our relationships with our island nations. This administration, following constructive initiatives by its predecessor, has now hosted 2 U.S. Pacific Islands Forum summits in Washington, D.C., and begun efforts to open embassies in Solomon Islands, Tonga, Vanuatu, and Kiribati, in addition to diplomatic presence elsewhere. However, we have a limited window of time in which to make a new impression and again prove ourselves to be steadfast partners. To this end, I'd like to focus on 3 particular areas. Number 1, renewing the compacts of free association. Number 2, bolstering our diplomatic presence in the region. And number 3, passing measures such as the Blue Pacific Act. First, on the compacts of free association, which are our treaties, our agreements with the compact countries of Palau, Federated States of Micronesia, and the Marshall Islands. These have been referred to as the bedrock of our role in the Pacific by the 2020 Indo-Pacific Strategy. The State Department and the Department of the Interior, under the able direction of Special Envoy Joseph Yun, worked tirelessly to negotiate these agreements to extend the compacts for another 20 years. The administration has submitted those agreements in Congress, and it is essential that we act swiftly to pass them into law. Chair, you and other members of your committee, as well as the Committee on Natural Resources, last night introduced the renewal, which we really appreciate. We need to move on these immediately. A delay in passage of these new compacts will be seen as a failure to deliver for our closest partners in the Pacific and will undermine our efforts to prove that we are, in fact, a steadfast partner. Number 2, we must also ensure that our new diplomatic posts and other presence and outreach in the Pacific Islands are adequately resourced. The efforts to open new embassies are welcome steps in a region where just showing up is central to building trust. While it is, of course, up to the Senate to ensure that ambassadors to these new posts are confirmed in a timely manner, this committee has an important role to play in overseeing the State Department and ensuring that the embassies are, in fact, established post-haste and are fully functioning consular service-wise and otherwise. Finally, we must pass legislation like the Blue Pacific Act, which would establish a whole-of-government strategy for engagement in the region. Our bill outlines areas of cooperation between our governments and the Pacific Island nations, aligning our activities with the Pacific Island Forum's own 2050 strategy for the Blue Pacific continent. It also codifies our Pacific Partnership Strategy and requires that it be updated every 4 years, assuring Pacific Island nations that we do offer long-term partnership. By passing the Blue Pacific Act, we can demonstrate that our commitment to the region is long-term and sustainable. We have made great progress in the Pacific Islands along with the Indo-Pacific in recent years. However, now is the time that we must follow through on our commitments and ensure that our legislative efforts reflect the importance of our ties not only to the broader Indo-Pacific, but to the Pacific Islands themselves. I look forward to working with you on all of these efforts, and thank you for your time and effort.
Thank you.